Hello, I'm Geoff from GC2 Photo Club, and in this video I'm going to talk about Aperture Priority, show you how to set it on your camera, explain what aperture is, and also what f-numbers are. The lens aperture controls the quantity of light that is passed through your lens. It also controls the amount of depth of field in your photograph. That's the area in your photograph that's acceptably sharp. Aperture is measured in f-numbers or stops. F-stops are a way of standardising the amount of light that is passed through different size lenses. For instance, this lens set at f8 will pass exactly the same amount of light as this lens set at f8. The smaller the f-number, the larger the aperture is, and the more light it will pass. Watch as I change from f22 to f8, and you will see the aperture increasing in size to let more light through. The reason that the f-numbers get smaller as the aperture gets bigger is that f-numbers are actually fractions. A half is bigger than a quarter, but they are abbreviated to numbers for simplicity. Each one full stop increment in f-numbers lets in half as much light as the previous f-number. Changing from f5.6 to f8 means that you're only getting half as much light through. You can see the aperture getting smaller as I change from f5.6 to f11. By balancing the camera's shutter speed and aperture, you can control the exposure. This can be done in full manual mode or by using aperture priority or shutter speed priority. Remember, the aperture controls how much light passes through the lens, and the shutter speed controls the length of time that light is allowed through the lens and onto your film or camera sensor, in this case a 250th of a second. The smaller the aperture that you have set on your camera, larger f-number, the more depth of field in your image, and consequently the larger the aperture that you have set on your camera, a smaller f-number, the less depth of field in your image. This means that f16 will give you a larger or wider depth of field in your photo than f4. As you can see in this photograph that was shot at f16, you have everything in the photograph sharp from front to back. Whereas in this image that was shot at f4, only the subject is sharp and the background goes out of focus. To set this Canon camera to aperture priority, scroll this wheel here till it's on AV for aperture priority, then use this wheel at the top here to change your aperture setting to the one that you require. The camera will now set the appropriate shutter speed for you to give you the correct exposure. To change this Nikon camera to aperture priority, press and hold down this mode button here, scroll this wheel here until you see A in your screen. That stands for aperture priority. You can now alter your aperture using this wheel here, set the aperture you require, and then the camera will set an appropriate shutter speed for you to give you the correct exposure. This allows you creative control to make your subject pop out of a blurred background. Also, if you want to create a bokeh effect, you need to set a very wide aperture. To sum up, by setting the aperture on your camera, you can control the amount of depth of field in your image for creative control of the amount of your image that you want to be sharp. You can do this on full manual mode, or as in this case, in aperture priority mode. By setting the aperture together with the camera's shutter speed, you can control the amount of light passed by a lens for any given time. This will give you control over the exposure with any given ISO. On aperture priority, if you set your desired aperture, your camera will set the shutter speed for you to give a correct exposure with the currently selected ISO. Hope you found that tutorial useful. Please go to our website gc2photoclub.com for more videos and information. I'm Geoff from GC2 Photo Club. Hope to see you again soon.